So if you've been searching for, should I move to Auburndale, Florida or not, just kind of stop scrolling. I'm going to give you the real answer, the real pros and cons from somebody who's lived in this area for a long time. I'm in the Polk County area. Let's talk about what's good about Auburndale, what's not. Got over 30 years in the business. My name is Brian Stevens. I am with eXp Realty. We have a small team right here in Polk County, and thanks for letting me just connect with you for a few minutes. By the way, at the very end of this video, I'm going to give you some ideas on how to connect with me direct, how to kind of follow a little bit what we're doing. We'd like to add valuable content for if you're thinking about buying in the Central Florida area, or if you're thinking about selling, we can help you with either. And so let's get into what about Auburndale, Florida? So if you've never heard of Auburndale, Florida, it sits right in the middle of Polk County. It's part of the Lakeland, Winter Haven metro area. It really is, and we talk about this in Lakeland and Winter Haven, right between Tampa and Orlando, which makes it very, very nice. Auburndale was first settled back in 1911, little FYI facts there, and it's really grown very nicely. In fact, I remember about 7 years ago, Auburndale had a big spurt, kind of going crazy, and then they kind of slowed back down when things got kind of adjusted because of COVID. And now what I'm seeing in the last, I will say, year to two, they're taking back off at a nice, strong, but healthy pace as they're growing Auburndale, Florida. You're going to see that really Auburndale kind of butts up to Winter Haven, and so it's easy to go from Lakeland to Auburndale or to Winter Haven. They all kind of clump together. I would say from one end to the other, from call it Auburndale to Lakeland, it's about 30 minutes, depending on where you are. Could be 5 or 10 minutes less or greater, but really a really nice town to live in. So let's talk about the first thing, genuinely affordable Florida living. Let's talk money first, because that's what usually decides if you're going to make a move. Now, I will say Auburndale's cost of living runs about 8 to 11% below the national and Florida averages. And if you're looking for home specific price range, the national average right now is about $400,000, and Auburndale is well below that, which is really nice. For example, you can get a really nice home, I'm going to call it a new home or newer home, within about 2 to 3 years old for $300,000, $325,000, probably 15, 16, 1700 square feet. So really a lot of bang for the buck, I think, in Auburndale. If you take that same home, go put it in Orlando or Tampa, it's going to be a lot more money. I can tell you that for sure. So Auburndale has still got a really nice ring to it when it comes to affordability. The second thing is this, and this is going to be something that surprises a lot of people. Auburndale doesn't really feel like a Florida suburb, but it feels like a small town. It's got that small town vibe. The downtown has been going through a genuine revitalization. You'll see, you kind of drive through it. It's really cute little downtown. They've got some historic buildings, around the park that's right the center of downtown. They've got a weekend market. They've got a real community caring in Auburndale. And so you're going to see some of my favorite parts about Auburndale is the lakes. Beautiful lakes. I mean, gorgeous. You talk about lakefront homes that are affordable, that are within reach of living on the water. If you're thinking about lakefront living, hard to find in Lakeland or Winter Haven. I will say you'll probably have a better chance to find that in Auburndale. And I'm a 30-year veteran in this, so I can tell you that's what I'm going to say. Lake Ariana is beautiful. Lake Myrtle, Lake Juliana, very pretty. Boating, fishing, paddleboarding, sunset views right from your backyard. You're going to want that. They're going to be in a lot of the neighborhoods. So it's not just a town where you have to drive an hour to find water. Auburndale is kind of built around water, and there's some really nice communities over there. So you're going to want to hit me up if you're thinking about looking for a lakefront home. Okay. So the third thing is this, it's really a family town. A lot of residents are married, families with smaller kids in the area. So you're going to see they've got really nice schools. Fun field fact, my father-in-law used to teach at Stanbaugh, which is one of their schools over there, Stanbaugh Middle. And so he taught there for years. My father-in-law really enjoyed it over there, and it's continued just to grow and grow and grow. So if you're raising kids, you got a young family, I think you want to consider Auburndale. The fourth thing is this, the location is really nice. Location. You're really sitting right in front of I-4 between two big job markets, two international airports, go to Orlando or go to Tampa, my favorite favorite is Tampa Airport. Much better than Orlando International Airport. Ask anybody, they will say the same thing. However, little caveat, you're not paying for this, so this is a tip. Orlando Airport is a little bit further away. It's not as user-friendly to me, but sometimes you can get your flights a little bit cheaper out of Orlando, probably because you're paying for that, the hoopla. Anyways, but Tampa is a really smooth airport to get in and out of. None of them are perfect, just personal opinion from flying out of both of them several times. But Auburndale, again, to get to either airport, you're right in the middle. Maybe you want to live in Auburndale, work in Tampa, Orlando, Davenport, Winter Park, Clearwater, St. Pete. Auburndale's a great place to call home. The fifth thing is this, the new construction is really booming, and it's over off of Berkeley Road. You're going to see a lot of that, 559. There's a lot of growing areas in the Lake Myrtle enclave, other new builds, a lot of your large production builders, and even some local production builders are building in the Auburndale area. But here's what I want to tell you. No town is perfect. If an agent only tells you the good stuff, you want to hear the full, well-rounded picture. So here's some of the cons. Now, some of the cons about living in Auburndale is the local job market is going to be very limited because it's not a huge town, right? So they don't have some huge local job market. It's going to be more retail in that area. So if you're more of a white-collar professional, you're going to probably have to work in one of the larger cities. Lakeland is the largest city in Polk County. It may be Winter Haven. But again, so the work in Auburndale itself is a little bit limited. The second thing is this, that the average wages run slightly below state and national levels. So the average annual pay in Auburndale is going to be below both the Florida and the national averages. And this does matter, but if you work remote, like a lot of people do, that won't affect you. But again, maybe you're working in Tampa and Orlando, live in Orlando, get the best of both worlds. Number 3 is the hurricane and the flood risk. Yes, we live in Florida. Yes, it is real. No matter where you are, but especially in Central Florida, you're a little bit more insulated versus the coastal living, which really helps. But let me say this, we get hurricanes. We have bugs, we have humidity, we have traffic. If you don't like any of those things, you may not want to move to Auburndale because that's what we have. It's part of it. It is right now summer, and I can tell you right now we've had some popping thunderstorms. In fact, I've got to have my light back in my computer on high today because it's been stormy all day today, and the last couple of days have been stormy and nasty, and what they are is afternoon thunderstorms. We have those a lot in the summer because the humidity, the heat. I'm not I don't do the weather, so I don't know the specific, how it all happens, but we have them, and they can be pretty intense. They don't last that long. Again, part of the deal. And once in a while we get hurricanes. I hope we don't have a hurricane for several years, but once in a while we do. The next thing is there's one of the cons, one of the negative things is there's fewer big amenities local. Now, if you want to go to Lakeland, Winter Haven, you would have Legoland, you would have a larger shopping area, you'd have better theater selection, more restaurants, but you're not going to get a ton of stuff in Auburndale. And then as far as con number 5 is, again, growing pain. They're kind of suffering with that growing pains, which means more traffic, more congestion, places are a little bit more crowded, is growing fast. And the longtime residents in Auburndale, they're noticing this and they're kind of like, I don't know if I like this growth. And we see that a lot in some of the smaller towns, but along the main corridors during peak commute times, it can be pretty crazy. It's not like big city traffic, like, the bigger cities we've mentioned earlier, but if you really want a pure small town quiet feel, Auburndale is changing. It still has some of that feel, but it is changing. So let me ask you this, is Auburndale a good fit for you based on what we've talked about in this market? Families who want a real community feel with lake access, they don't mind a short commute to work, you may want to consider Auburndale, Florida. Maybe you're looking to retire. There's some great options there. You want a quieter, peaceful Florida living, you may want to consider something like this. So if you've been priced out of the larger markets in the Polk County area, Auburndale is definitely a market you'll want to consider. Hey, thanks so much for tuning into this video. I hope that this has helped you in your evaluating whether you were considering Auburndale, Florida or not. Again, if you're thinking Lakeland, Winter Haven, Auburndale, Mulberry, Bartow, Haines City, Lake Wales, Davenport, we service all of Polk County, even outside of Polk County a little bit, but we're happy to help you out. 30 years in the business, love helping people meet their real estate goals. All my contact information is below. Please reach out. out. Let's have a conversation and find out and talk about when you're looking to buy or to sell in this market. I'm a real person. My contact information is below, 863-647-8600. Whether selling or buying, you got to call Brian. God bless.